Okay, so we have Aditya. Aditya has recently taken GRE, and Aditya, how much you scored in English and math?
In English, sir, I scored 154, and in math, I was able to score a 164 out of 170.
Mm-hmm.
The total was 318 out of 340.
So 318 out of 340 is a decent score, which means the
Yeah,
way you
yeah.
prepared. How much time did you take for your preparation, Aditya?
I think all in all, once I was in it, I think it took me about uh, a month and a half to 2 months to get
Mm-hmm.
to my peak.
Okay.
Uh, that was there was unfortunately there was a bit of gap between when I think I was at my peak and
Mm-hmm.
when I gave my exam. I think, but it took me about 2 months to get where I think I would have gotten a higher score than what I actually did right
Yeah,
now. I think I gave my exam after I peaked.
yeah,
What about 2 months is what I would say is a very good time for
yeah.
GRE prep. Yeah.
So you're already working there in US, and how did you take out time? And you also used to travel, I remember, during
Yeah.
the preparation. So how did you make your mind to do? So first of all, what is the advantage of GRE for someone who is working for how many years have you been working?
4.5 years now.
So after 4.5 years of working for various companies in US,
Yeah.
you decided to take GRE. So how will
Yeah.
GRE and further degree help you there?
I think the biggest thing right now in the market is pretty much everybody. I mean, honestly speaking, pretty much everybody that's coming in nowadays has a master's degree in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
So by not having that master's degree, you're already putting yourself on the back foot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, initially, there's like, even when you're around 30 years old, 35 years old, probably you're not going to feel that sort of a thing. But I've heard stories and I've talked to multiple people in the industry, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people reckon that once you get around 40, 45 years and you're about 20, 25 years into your career, sometimes those final decisions are almost made on the fact that it looks good on the company's resume that this person has 2 degrees instead of one.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things, I think. I think secondly as well, doing the GRE and trying to decide a master's 4 years after I graduated from undergrad, I think I was able to find what I actually like. And
Mm-hmm.
I think these 4 years gave me a lot of, 4.5 years made me realize that this is the field that I want to go into. If you asked me right out of college, I would have preferred to go into an MBA. But I think with more industry knowledge, you actually realize what you like. And if I think I'm lucky that I got into a job that I enjoy and I
Mm-hmm.
want to continue doing that. So that was kind of the reason to further my learning, to make sure I can stay relevant in this field going forward
Right.
as well. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then what was the criteria of deciding between an MBA and MS? So you're going for an MS
Yeah.
rather than MBA.
Yeah, I think the biggest criteria, again, I had a lot of conversations with a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm.
I have a family friend who does career placement. My father himself has been, he's a chartered accountant. My mother is an engineer. So I've had and plus I've talked to a lot of people through my network in the US as well. And from what it seems like is, once you do an MBA, and again, it's a personal opinion. Everybody has their own path to take. But I think in an MBA, mostly you get away from the technical side of things. You will be managing engineers instead of doing a lot of hardcore engineering work. And if you do a master's, your uh, advances in the career would be like a senior engineer, technical director, VP of engineering, instead of the managerial route, which takes you, if you keep climbing, it'll be like manager, senior manager, and then, maybe like VP or like CFO or CEO or something like that. Whereas comparison on base level, a master's might take you to a CTO,
Mm-hmm.
but a MBA might take you to a CEO or something of that sort, or VP
Right.
or something of that sort. So
Right.
I think MBA is more about managing people, um, and masters is more about still doing engineering at the heart of it. And I think that was the biggest reason why
Okay.
myself I decided to do a master's, because like I said, I do enjoy my job, and I think
Yeah.
I can see myself doing this for the foreseeable future.
I think we can spend another maybe 10, 15 seconds, 30 seconds describing your interesting job also. You
Sure.
are into uh, very, very different field. What is that? Gas and uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I work for a company called Biogas Engineering, which is a renewable energies company.
Hmm.
What my firm does is we design and construct biogas facilities
Hmm.
in the US. I myself, I do the hardware automation part for it.
Yeah.
But all in all, we convert manure gas, which is called digester gas, into biogas, which is in another term in India, it's called CNG, compressed
Hmm.
natural gas. So we create renewable natural gas and compressed natural gas from uh, from practically manure. And
Hmm.
it's a booming field. It's a renewable energy field, and it's a lot of I have a lot of fun, a lot of travel as well, but a lot of fun doing it.
So during our classes also you used to travel. You used to go
Yeah.
from one place to other, and I saw that you were taking classes from hotel also.
Yes. Yes.
So how did you manage your studies with the work?
It is difficult. I think the biggest advice that I could give anybody who's trying to do it with work is that give yourself that time. Rajiv sir and I, we started preparing for the GRE a long time before I actually got serious for it.
Yeah.
So because I had that sort of a base while working with you, and math as well,
Mhm.
when I knew I had that, we were doing classes in hotels. I was, doing homework at, sitting in hotels, and we were discussing stuff doing that. But because we had that base for about 2 months,
Mm.
and then when I felt ready and I knew, okay, I have the next month where I'm not going to travel as much, my
Yeah.
work is going to be light, it's not going to be as busy. I was able to take that extra step. I was able to delve into it. I gave it my full effort at that time,
Yeah.
and I was able to give the GRE at that time itself. So I think that's important while working as well, to
Yeah.
recognize that work is also important. You can't just leave work, but it's good to get that base, and then when you have time, you can
Yeah.
decide to write it.
So the black horse here or the hidden elephant in the room is time. You stretch the time,
Basically,
which
yeah,
made all
yeah,
the difference rather than going
exactly.
all out on it and doing in one
Yes,
shot.
exactly,
Yeah. I
exactly.
think,
Yeah, what we did, we could have done it in 2 months if, I think
yeah.
we were studying together for 4 months.
Yeah.
We could have easily done it in 2 months as well. There was no reason, but we took our time, and I knew what challenges I had with work. And yes, it's something has to give at one point or another. When I knew I could focus on it, I dialed in, and I took
Yeah.
that extra step to make sure I was able
So one now question related to math and English.
to.
Math was
Mhm.
your strength and
Yes,
you used to do it very, very fast. And I think sir
yes,
took you at a fast pace and you were able to
yes,
do it. What about English? And I think like English seems to be a challenge with most of the participants.
yeah,
So let's talk about vocabulary first. Was that
yeah,
a challenge in the test also? Did you find any questions
yes.
which were
Yeah, I think vocabulary is, looking back, I think I would have spent a lot more time focusing on vocabulary.
mm,
There's different, sir, you yourself guided me towards Manhattan, and different things. I myself, I found an app from Magoosh as well, which
mhm,
was pretty helpful. They have different decks, and it's much more. It's on your phone, which
yeah,
makes it a lot easier. It goes everywhere with you. So I think vocabulary is the uh, biggest thing that we should focus on to start off with. I
yeah,
think vocab is obviously number one. It helps you a lot answering questions in sentence equivalence, or
yes,
when picking the right word, completing the sentence, filling in the blanks, and sometimes and then obviously. I think after that, it comes to a lot of strategies.
Yeah.
The more practice, the more questions you see, the more you realize that GRE tests people the same way.
Yeah.
Questions are, for example, sentence equivalence is always going to have pairs of answers. So once you start identifying the pairs, once you start doing more and more questions, I think you'll recognize the patterns to the questions as well, not just the
Yeah.
answers, but the patterns to the questions, and you'll understand the flow of everything. And last but not the least, I think reading is for me it's always a hit and miss. If the paragraph is interesting, I might do really good. If it's
Yeah.
something in my field, if it's talking about science, I usually am able to pick up really well. But I think reading as well, there's certain strategies, and I think there's ways to do it, and it's all I think reading vocab and then patterns and then strategies. I think that's the way to approach the English section
Right.
going forward.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And I think the last thing we can talk about is your peak performance, like when to take
Hmm.
GRE. And I think it is better not to delay once you see that, oh, this
Yes.
is what I am at. So in your case, there was a bit of delay between
Yes.
the peak and because of
Yeah.
travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of some personal travel, I had to give a bit of a gap between my peak,
Yeah.
which was about a month and a half after. I think I was probably on my peak.
But
I
I
think,
was actually surprised to see your result because after such a long time, if one takes GRE, one tends to
yeah,
forget a lot of things and lose that rigor. But
yeah.
still, you were able to manage and
I,
go. Yeah.
I think honestly, I was very surprised with it as well,
Mm.
and which made me realize that, like talking back about the base that we set up, I think
Yeah.
that was strong, and we
Yeah.
spent a lot of time doing that.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
because there was that base, I was able to really easily make those connections very fast.
Right. Right. Right.
And I think that helped a lot
Mm.
because we had given it so much time. That's what and then at the end of the day, it's I think recognizing that peak as well. Of course, now
Yes.
I can
Yes.
think, okay, a month ago when I was ready to give the GRE but had to cancel it and had to move it, I was
Yeah.
at my peak, of course. But I think there's this one time, at least for everybody, that you think, oh, even for an exam, any exam that
Mm.
we've given in school, there comes a point the day before that you're like, oh, if I had one more day, I would do really good at this exam. And I think
Yeah.
that's your peak. That's your peak. That's when you've hit
Yeah.
your peak. When
Yeah.
you're like, oh, if I had one more week, if I had 2 more weeks, that's when you've hit your peak. When you have
Yeah.
that feeling that maybe I should delay it. And of course, you need to be studying for that. So
Yeah.
I think I hit that peak in November,
Mm.
and then but unfortunately I had to move my exam. When
Mm.
I moved it again this last week when I was able to get back into it 2 3 weeks ago, and last week I was studying, and then on Thursday I had sort of a realization that if I had one more week I would do really good.
Yeah.
And at that moment it was like, you know what, let's just go ahead and give it. And I think that's a trigger that the brain
Yeah.
gives you, that hey, like you're at the 90%.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get to 100%, you need more time.
Right.
And I think
Right.
it's better that I'm really happy that I gave it,
Mm.
because that gives me the motivation to actually give it again.
Yeah.
And now I'm more inclined to give it again than I would have been before, like 2 days
Yeah.
before the exam. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy that I did it when I did it.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that I can do better in the next one, given
Yeah.
that where I've gotten
So another
with this
seven,
exam.
10 days should be enough to groom you whenever you want to take it, and
Yes.
you can go ahead and do it. Yeah.
I think so. I think so. 7 10 days, 2 weeks. I think.
Yeah.
Once you give, I mean, of course, ETS doesn't let you take it within
Yeah.
21 days, anyways.
Yeah.
Which I think is a very good sort of a unofficial,
Strategy. Yeah. Rule.
yeah. I mean, they've given that delay themselves, and I think it's kind of very
Makes
accurate.
sense.
If
Yes.
where I see myself, I got a 318, which is a competitive score, but I think I can improve on it, and there's room for improvement.
Yeah.
Especially again, like we talked about English, I
So
think
with
there's room
these
for
type
improvement.
of marks, which colleges are accepting your with 318, which colleges
Yes.
are accepting your admissions?
So at 318, there's two colleges that I was specifically interested in. One was my alma mater, Purdue University in Indiana. For their Masters of Electrical Engineering, a 318 is average. So this puts me right up there for them as well. And the other one, because of proximity, I live in Los Angeles, UCLA. Their average is around 317 as well,
Mm,
which makes me pretty competitive in their pool
okay.
again. And plus, so that's what I think. I've been talking to a lot of people who are doing their masters right now, and according to them, when they apply for colleges and they are in these universities, anything above 310 with 4 years of experience is a very good sort of a score.
Yeah.
Uh, and
So this
that
score itself
really,
is good. There's,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, not a necessity that you have to take it because UCLA
right,
has its name. It's
exactly,
one
yeah,
of the premier universities. It's near your
yeah,
place where you stay,
yeah,
so you
yeah,
can consider that as well.
exactly,
So
exactly.
great,
UCLA
Aditya.
is,
As I said, you
yeah.
look like a rock star, and your
Thank you, sir.
performance was like a rock star. And
Right,
I think
right.
the most important thing is you carried that enthusiasm. When we train people like you, we get energized that somebody
That's good
pushing
to
us.
hear. Yeah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Uh,
But yeah,
and
yeah. I think a big portion of that, of course, comes from you as well, and from Anand sir as well. That like I talked about, that base was very important,
yeah,
and because that base was strong, because we spent so much time building that base, I was able to take that decision when to give it, and even then there was a gap, I was
yeah,
able to come back to it, and I think that's
right.
that's that's the most important thing, I would say.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
great to hear from you, Aditya. And
yeah, absolutely,
we will definitely be in touch. And in case I
absolutely.
need any help regarding any further information related to GRE to
Sure,
motivate others, I'll call you.
sure, sure, absolutely, absolutely, sir.
Thank you, Aditya.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.